Welcome. Our spring 2024 anime season begins, and our first stop here will be Spice and Wolf, which is a fully reworked, I guess, in new version of the original that came out and aired in 2008, which spanned for 2 seasons, I believe about 24 or 6 episodes probably total. Also is an adaptation of the novel, which began a few years probably before that, which is highly acclaimed by many. So this is a series that I'm very excited for. Never actually got into or watched the other one before that. We don't know if this version is going to be bad in any sort of way, like in comparison to what the old one was. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty that are comparing constantly, stating things that they liked about the original so much more, stating things that they like about the new version possibly more. I know I've already seen plenty of things with the main character and her character design and the feelings towards plenty of people of the differences that are kind of going on between them. And me, somebody who hasn't grown a real attachment or anything because I've never seen the series or anything of the original, I can't tell you which one I like more, which one I think is better, or any of that. I mean, I could tell you if I looked at a picture and just be like, oh, this one I think is like better for these reasons. But everything's kind of done differently, right? Certain things look better when the aesthetic and the style of the show is done in a certain way. So like the feeling I get when I see like just the image, like a comparison of the two character designs essentially next to each other is just I would like to see them almost in context of the show that they're in, with the backgrounds and with the other characters designed in similar ways almost, because then you kind of get a better feeling of how they fit within that world a little bit more, and how much more natural almost that they kind of look. Because sometimes you do be getting character designs of like characters that just don't look like they fit almost, like maybe they're a little too detailed in comparison to the way that the backgrounds and everything are, or maybe they're like not detailed enough or they don't blend as well. Like there's just like weird things sometimes with the way that things are done. So like that's like something that we're going to kind of have to work within and go through and just kind of see how we're feeling. But like I said, haven't seen the original or anything. I know literally nothing about the series as well, which is usually weird because typically I go in, I think, with like a little bit of background or an idea of what we're going to be getting into and what's happening. And the strongest idea I have is I don't think this is going to be like too like overly dramatic with a lot of stuff, but I just think it's going to be like a journey between two characters who can kind of use each other or gain knowledge and things from others in this kind of fantasy world, which is like all I'm really seeing. I don't know, like that's all I know of and all I think will actually happen. So it's going to be interesting to see why this is such a love series, why this is something that they felt almost warranted a complete remake of it, right? Why the original staff, for the most part, with the original director and a lot of the original voice actors and actresses and stuff, and getting like a lot of the same members and bringing all of them back, which allows you to have that feeling of familiarity with the original series, but it's completely different to something like Rurouni Kenshin, where they redid it recently with Leiden Films and their version of it, which does not take on or use any of the same members, basically, any of the core staff, any of the same voice actors or actresses and stuff, and are giving it a complete overhaul, complete new identity to it. Where this series, it just seems like people wanted to do this and they were like, look, we want to commit to it this time, we want to give it the proper treatment that we feel it deserves, but they like so much about the original that they were like, we're going to keep all of that stuff in, we're not going to kind of redo all of that stuff, and I wondered like reasons for those sort of decisions and stuff, and I think that stuff's really interesting to think about, that they didn't decide to recast any of that, that they didn't decide, the studio that's in charge here didn't decide, okay, we're going to go out of our way and we're going to get somebody to have a complete new vision and all this on the project. Instead, they were like, we're going to use all the same things. And I think that's really cool. And that's really interesting to note. Maybe it's because it's only 15, I say only, maybe it's because it's only like 15-ish years old, right? As opposed to, I think like Rurouni Kenshin, the example I was using for that, is so much older. I don't know. But I really wonder like the actual decisions. Because I mean, they even did it with something like Hunter x Hunter, right? For the version when they decided to give it its proper treatment in the early 2010s, and Madhouse decided to go on and do that. They completely chose new cast and everybody else to take over the characters too. So it's interesting like why they want to give it their own identity, right? They want to do things that are different, but here it seems like they want to stick to that core and that root of what a lot of people already know and love about the series so much. And maybe it's a reflection on their part because it is them, because it is the same kind of cast and director and people kind of running the show here, almost deciding we liked so much of what we did and we want to stick to that, as opposed to we want to get a fresh start and overhaul everything completely. I don't know. And I'm just rambling a little bit here, but it's something I was wondering a little bit, because like what exactly makes somebody want to give something a proper treatment, want to go back and redo something, when there's so many other series out there that plenty of fans will argue are probably, I guess, like really in need of getting a new series, in need of getting a proper treatment, whether it be the anime kind of took an original route with a lot of stuff and ruined things, or whether the animation and everything was just kind of not very good, or the direction was just kind of boring and bland. Like whatever the reasons is, there's plenty of other fans of other series who probably are out there like, I think my series deserves this for this reason or whatever. And it's like wondering, almost like wanting to feel that love now of understanding where all that stuff kind of comes from, that so many have, and so many care for with the series from before, that warrants the larger like excitement, I guess, for a lot of people with this series and wanting to see all this back. So I don't know, that's a lot of yapping on that part, but I am excited, and like I said, not too familiar with really anything. I know the main dude, I believe his name's Lawrence, and the wolf girl is HOLO, I believe is her name. And then like I said, I've seen some images here or there. I know the original opening song. I've seen like covers and stuff of it before, and I really liked it. I've never actually checked out the original, and I don't know. I didn't check if they're reusing that for this, just to give that like same feeling. So no idea there. I kind of hope it's the same because I really like the song, but we'll have to see what they decide to go with on that. I know we're set for 2 cores, I believe. 2 consecutive cores, I also believe. I think it was 25 episodes is what I saw. So it's going to be long. But I'm excited, and that'll essentially, I'd assume, get us caught up to everything that the original did, and it'll catch us up to the 2 seasons that they got out of that. And then I guess if the studio decides that that's all that they want to do, or if they want to give it like it's full props here and go through and adapt as much as they possibly can, you know, set us up for another season 2 come at some point, I think would be really cool. It would be interesting if that is the reason why, because that's the thing. Like, if they chose to redo this, but then they also chose that we're going to stop at the exact same stopping point, what is good with that? That doesn't make much sense to me, right? Like, why bother in a way? And back to my example of like Rurouni Kenshin earlier, that I said they basically did something similar, but they literally just announced another season coming, right? So it's like they plan to give it a full adaptation almost of what they're trying to do, or as much as I think that they really can, until people really start losing interest, I'd assume. So I'm wondering what the purpose is for this, and how exactly they're planning to I guess bring the series alight. As with all series, when we first give them a watch on this channel, also because it's a weekly series and not something I can binge through many episodes and decide if I like it before we end up posting it, I basically reserve the rights to drop this at any point if I feel like I need to. I'm gonna try and be better with that stuff, where if I really am not enjoying it, because typically what happens is I'll talk about maybe not enjoying it as much, but I won't actually drop it on that episode that I upload. I'll actually just end up watching the next episode and deciding while I'm watching it or afterwards I don't want to upload or edit that video anymore, and I just don't want to do it. So if that happens with this series, check the comments of, I guess, whatever the most recent episode is, and in there I'm trying to be better. So I actually put like reasons as to like why maybe I'm feeling the way that I am, or just like that it isn't clicking, just so like at least you're aware. Also, if you go check the playlist, I'll put the word drop next to it just so that you're aware. Sometimes also I do drop these on the channel just because maybe there's not enough people watching it, or just because I'm not feeling like doing reactions for it and I just want to watch it in my own time instead, because maybe I'm not loving it as much and there's other things I'd rather do on here. So I don't know, just so everybody's aware and we're on the same page. But that is the plan, I think, going forward with a lot of those, and I'll talk about it as we go into a few other series that we're going to begin to start here for this season as well. Some bad news though, this is a Toho animation show. I was not aware of that, and I just checked recently, and it apparently is a Toho production. So I'm very heartbroken over that. Some of you probably already know I have nothing but trouble with Toho on this channel, and they constantly block all of my videos on here, which creates lots of problems for me and having to re-edit and go through things, but I don't want to re-upload, so it like causes a big hassle. Typically we just mute the anime audio, but sometimes, very rarely, but it's happened I think with 2 series now, where just Toho doesn't do anything and they just don't seem to care about that one as much. So the possibility is always there. So the first episode probably the first like 5 or so, because it usually takes them 5 or 6 weeks to actually start getting onto it, will all be uploaded normally, so you guys won't notice anything. But if this is no longer here, if there's no reaction here, it's because I had to edit it out due to them blocking it. Check the link in the description and I'll end up posting it there. And then if that stuff starts happening as we go later into the series, all the reactions are just going to kind of be here but muted throughout it, and then you'll have the option to choose the link in the description or watch it throughout here. But that's going to be also the laid out plan of what we're intending to do there, and hopefully all works out and we can just keep our fingers crossed and hopefully they don't attack us. But if they do, we have backup options so that we can still enjoy this and we can still put it out there, but we have to kind of just go around things a little bit, which is a bit unfortunate, but I'm doing the best that I can. With most of that yapping out the way, if you like it all, the like and subscribe to mean a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for our discussion, leave any comments with this episode or series. Let's get going though with Spice and Wolf episode 1. It's a good story, so say it again. Oh, wow.
子供っぽい話じゃなくて、ここよりもずっとずっと南の地に村の豊作を守る狼がいたという話。
The Protector.
狼はその村の若者と約束を交わしたんじゃ。村の麦を豊作にするようにと、狼はその約束を守り続けた。ずっとずっと長い間。
You almost look like that, Wolf. Hold up.
風で麦穂が倒れることを狼に踏まれたと言い、不作の時は狼に食われたとも言った。狼は村で大切にされたんだね。
Yeah.
そうじゃな。もはや狼との約束を覚えている者はおらん。親しみと恐れを込めて語られていた狼の話はいつしか古臭いだけの昔話になった。
Yeah.
麦は人がまき、育て、収穫するものとなり、狼が恵んでくれるものだなどと信じている者はいなくなったんじゃな。
Gotcha.
ねえ、それじゃあその狼はどうしたの？
Don't look in front of you. Don't. Now we take ourselves all the way back to the beginning. The return.
夜まで天気は良さそうだ。雨は困るだろ。お前も。では積み荷は。毛皮です。ほう。これは村でもらってきた麦束です。寒さに強く虫にも食われにくい品種らしくて。世界を創造した偉大なる唯一神を崇めぬ者どものことよ。北方はともかくこの辺りにもまだ残ってるとはな。貴様は何か知らんか？さて。
As you are one, I'd assume.
こんにちは。お久しぶりです。
What a pleasant looking place.
行商人のクラフト・ロレンスです。
今
年も豊作のようですね。
誰ならあっちの畑だな。
ありがとうございます。
Over yonder, over the hills.
あそこは若い者が多くて手際が悪いでな。多分今年はあそこの誰かがホロだろうて。
ホロ
End up as hollow. Hollow? Should I be pronouncing it with more of an accent? The boy.
やれ。
これもすべてエーレンドット伯爵様のおかげですよ。
新しいご領主様ですね。もう古い神に祈る時代ではないですか。この地方でこれほどのトレニー銀貨を見るとは驚きました。
まさに伯爵様のおかげです。商売のことあなたに教わったと常々口にしておりましてな。
本人の努力の賜物ですよ。
やれもロレンスさんとの再会を楽しみにしていたのですが。
Unfortunately, I gotta wait another week.
せんか。
ありがとうございます。ただ、買い付けた品の支払い期限が迫っておりました。また伺った時にでも。
Damn, I guess we don't get to meet the boy. A full moon, a perfect time for a wolf to show up, right?
Oi!
You're just trying to stay warm.
何やってんだ。おい。
The ears.
耳。
She sheds the fur, right? That's a really fun shot. Damn, girl, you make that kind of noise. It's so good because in like this, just such a simple shot, we're able to expand on like the length of the hair, the teeth, the ears, the tail, like the almost claws in a way, right? Like all of it in one. You're trying to share? Yeah. He's not.
村を出たくてこの場所に乗り込んだんじゃが、もう出とるようじゃな。わっちの名前はホロ。しばらくぶりにこの姿を撮ったがな。なかなかうまくいってるな。
ホロ。
ホロ。良い名前じゃる。
Yeah, it's fitting.
ホロと呼ばれるものを知らなんだ。どこのものかや？
この近辺の豊作の神の名だ。お前は神なのか？
Could be. There's a chance.
長いことこの土地に縛られていたの。神なんて偉いもんじゃありんせん。わっちはホロ以外の何者でもない。
Nice.
生まれてこの方ずっと家に閉じ込められていたおかしな娘とでも思っておるんじゃ。
Alright.
わっちの生まれはここではない。もっとずっと北の大地じゃ。
北？
夏は短く冬は長い。
What if it doesn't exist?
生まれ故郷は良い。
Never mind, it exists.
なことじゃ。主は行ったことあるかいな？
No.
ドイツ？いや、聞いたことがないな。
人の姿は嫌いではないが、いかんせ寒い。
Let me stay warm. How almost quick he was to accept this, though. Okay, now he's not. Now he's pushing for it.
この耳と尻尾では飽き足らず、主はわっちに狼の姿まで見せろと。
そうだ。
それは嫌じゃ。
I don't like that form.
そっちこそなんでじゃ。
だがもしもお前が本当に豊作の神ホロなら思いとどまってもいい。
本当かや？
本当だ。本当の堅牢ホロなら俺に。
Yeah, we could use that around here.
見たいんじゃな。
Yeah.
どうし
I'll
て
take you as far as you want, as long as you help me out.
姿を変えるのは無理じゃ。わっちの場合は行き地か、それかわずかの麦じゃな。
No, we're gonna have to settle for the wheat. Yeah. Let's go with that. Alright. How do you do it? You just eat it?
大丈夫か？
What the fuck?
申し訳ありません。今夜宿を貸していただけませんか？
それは構いませんが。
A lot of stuff kinda happened. They let him out.
またあったな、ロレンス。
これはすごいごちそうだな。
ホロへの供え物だ。狼だけに食わすのはもったいないからな。ここに持ってきた。食うか？
I think I might know somebody who would like it.
お前は穀物庫に1週間いる決まりだろ。
Yeah.
杉畑に住んでる狼なんかいやしない。
I would argue I just met something that goes against what you just said.
やり手の行商人、ロレンスとの再会を祝して。
旧友に。
パスロエ村の未来に。
I like how he gives him a nickname like that and it helps describe him to us.
値段交渉人としていい仕事をしてるみたいだな。
全部お前に教わったんだよ。
A wise man.
俺がこの村の麦を買ったのは。
そうだな。エーレンドット伯爵様がご領主になる前だ。
Damn.
以前の領主は税金を絞り取ることしか考えていなかった。
It's never great.
税のせいで高値だったこの村の作物を買ってくれる商人なんて誰もいなかった。
売れる村が他になかっただけさ。
あれ以来、俺も村も随分成長したと思う。信じられるか？今じゃ大きな町の紹介がうちの村まで買い付けに来るんだ。俺はそんな。
See what happens. You give somebody a chance, you do something, word spreads, people come along, they help, you know? Just like the good old days. I'm not too sure about that. Not wanted anymore.
ホロなんてもう必要ないか。
わっちがどうかしたかや？そんなに驚かんでもよかろう。正確に言えば麦の中におるんじゃ。収穫の時期は最後に刈り取られる麦の中におって、容易にそこから出られなくにあれば、わっちは人目に触れずに麦の中に移動できる。
Gotcha.
まあだからなんじゃ。主はわっちの恩人といえば恩人じゃな。
And then you took, I gotcha. So you were whole, you just been carrying her the whole time. I was terrified at first, but you don't seem like that bad of a person.
自分から姿を見せろと迫ったくせに、なのに俺はお前を恐れてしまった。
I asked you for something knowingly I wouldn't like it.
お前が消えたと思ったんだ。俺の前。
本当の姿を見れば、人はいつだって恐れをの。
It's natural.
そうでなかったものなど数えるほどじゃ。この村にも一人そんな変わり者がおった。わっちはそいつと約束したんじゃ。この村の麦をよく見。
Is that person possibly right in front of you when they were younger?
持ってきた。じゃが、豊作を続けると土地に無理をさせることになる。時には実りを悪くせんとならぬ。しかし村の連中はわっちの気まぐれだなどと言いよる。それがひどくなったのはこの数年じゃ。
Gotcha.
来年も
Yeah.
再年もこの村は
There's so many things in the real world that really work like that too.
わっちを必要としておらん。
And it can be applied to just people in general, but yeah.
他行くあてはあるのか。
Home.
北へ
Yep.
帰りたい。
And the journey home begins. Now I have to smuggle her out of here. Get in the cart.
もういいぞ。
やっとかよ。暗くて狭くて着替えるのも一苦労じゃ。
Gotta stay warm.
これどうじゃ？似合うかや？
It does.
待て。
Looks
それは
great.
俺のだ。
I love how the tail comes through.
主はなかなかの商人のようじゃな。
それは俺の服だ。
Well, not anymore.
主は優しいオスでありんす。よもや脱げとは言わぬじゃろ。わっちは主と旅がしたい。ダメかや？
いいだろう。これも何かの縁だ。
主の名はわっちが美談にして語り継がせよう。
楽な商売してるわけじゃないからな。食いぶちは自分で稼げよ。
I don't think that'll be that hard.
わっちもただ飯をもらって安穏としてるほど恥知らずじゃありんせん。わっちは
I mean, you did the other night, but
誇り高き狼じゃ。
alright.
ここは少々狭いの。
お前な。おい、あんまり近寄るなよ。
オスならわっちに触れられて嬉しかろう。
The thing I gotta say, I think I really love about what was just kind of presented in the way that this episode kind of concluded itself and brought everything together was the idea that we establish a lot of stuff throughout what happens. We give it a lot of time to breathe. And we don't really shove everything and force things down your throat. And we don't make anything like overly complex, and we don't make anything like, oh, I wonder how all this stuff could have happened, and like start like foreshadowing and hinting towards things, you know, trying to like really get you in and be like, oh, you need to keep watching to figure out what any of this means. And it doesn't leave you completely confused. And it doesn't like do any of that stuff, but instead it sets you up, gives you the dynamic between the characters. It gives you a old fashioned like story thing thing where you showcase where you're at in present day almost, or like a glimpse towards that, and then allows you to reflect back by almost telling a story. And then now we get to venture through and have that story play out through the entirety of this story, basically. And we can hint towards little things that have happened at some other point or may come at some other point here. But instead, we end up telling this story that leads to the introduction of our two characters meeting each other, how all of that stuff kind of came about, who each of these kind of people are, little bits of background and stuff between them. And then by the end, we give them a goal. This is where this person is going. This is why this person wants to go here. This is where the story essentially will end, when this person can reach their destination. Well, we don't have to take that direction. We can reach the destination and choose to pull back and not go that way. The ultimate residing point is believed at that point to be the end destination. HOLO talks about the idea of going all the way north, right? I want to go far, far away. I want to live, back in my home. Basically, it's very far north. And then we start at the beginning where we see essentially an older version of her who we'd assume talking to a younger child, assuming through the gray hair and everything that's shown is the child that she would, I'd assume, have with Lawrence at some point. Would be led to her saying this happened in a village that's very, very far away. And then we use like similar lines along the way to describe her end goal of where she kind of wants to be. So it would leave you to believe that we're residing in a snowy place, very cold. Things that she talked about is similar to her own village and stuff. So here we are. This is the start of the story. At the end, we fully understand she wants to get back to her home. And then we can also understand by looking at the beginning, all that stuff kind of works out favorably as she gets there. She gets to end up having likely a child of hers by the end as well, telling the story, and likely with the person who she had this first encounter with. This is a big story. This is a big deal. This isn't something, these little stories that I've been telling you that you've been, hearing about before. These are, okay, this is the story of how, like, basically you came to me at this point, all the way from the beginning, which I think is really cool. And it does a really good job at capturing all of that throughout one episode and setting all of that up, and then now allowing you to be completely freed, not have to necessarily worry about any of the stuff that was set up or laid out throughout the episode going forward. And now we could just go on and tell a story, tell an adventure, tell a journey, and the things and the people and the things that like just kind of come along with it. The people that you meet, the things that you encounter, the different things that you learn along the way, and all of that can come as a result of this. And I think that's a really excellent way to set it up without having to span, okay, it takes 20 episodes to get through to a prologue. Okay, it takes 3 hours to really set up a dynamic between characters and things are going. And they do an excellent job at that too. It sets up, it gives you an example of the physical features and the things about HOLO herself. It gives you how she's going to treat other people, how she's going to kind of banter and mess around with Lawrence, how their dynamic's going to be. It gives you to understand, the reputation he's almost built up for himself and the way that he's going to act, and the way that he kind of conducts himself throughout this, what she's kind of capable of, what he is, the way other people view each of them, the way each of them might feel about each other, insecurities and things that can kind of come along with that might could be harsh on them mentally along the way, and can kind of be tolling on them. So all of this gets built up in very simple form that I think creates something really cool. Like I said, we start here. You initially see, okay, this is the snow falling. This is the land where she described is very far away. As she ends up telling this child, about hearing these stories, she ends up calling her mom and stuff, talking about it, describing it as a wolf. We end up getting to see in many different shots. It's definitely who we believe it is, and telling the story to somebody with this gray hair, somebody who would also believe product of Lawrence as well. It all comes together and makes sense with her end goal of where you'd assume that it ends. Now, him not being here, us not seeing any specific things that like indicate directly that he's around here, it could just mean he's just not in this shot for whatever, because she's just telling a story without having him around. But it also could like leave you wondering what happens to him, where he is in this moment. Like maybe this isn't a story where everything kind of goes perfect, and maybe it does and you do get to that end goal, but over time things happen, we don't know, and there's a variety of things that can kind of come along with that, which I think is really cool. So she tells the story, which is a very real and a very unfortunate thing, but it's something that happens, and I guess it's not even unfortunate, it just depends on the circumstance and situation, but it's somebody who's needed in the situation. They use gods and a bunch of things like that, where people kind of like form wishes and they want these things to happen, and then they create these promises through this, and all this stuff kind of comes along. Basically though, it's similar, I guess, in a way that you can kind of relate to like religion, or to leaning on like a god, or leaning on even just a general person that is like a teacher in a way, right? And it's like the surpassing what that person almost can do, or being adequate like with what you are capable of doing. And we get to a point where she allowed for them to have these bountiful harvests and all this, like, and things just went good for them, and they were able to grow good wheat. And even throughout the years where the weather wasn't great, or the soil, you know, would end up taking a toll due to the magic and the things in which that she was kind of doing to allow all of this to work and properly be done. Throughout those years, they end up learning from those experiences and growing their knowledge, and then becoming pretty capable with what they're actually able to do. And all of that comes to a point where you no longer need or rely on that person or that thing. And then it kind of almost becomes a joke to them. They kind of mess around with it, and they talk about how it all gets kind of ruined, talking about like making jokes that when things aren't going well, it's like the wolf's like angry, it's like taken back, it's not being giving, it's like all these things that can kind of go into. And as somebody who can take a physical form like her, of course, mentally can kind of take maybe a toll on her, and understand that these people don't really want me, they don't need me, which is a big thing that she brings up later, allowing Lawrence to have the actual look into her mind a little bit more. I mean, it's something that happens plenty of times as people, you know, become more capable with what they're doing, as people begin to gain more information, as technology, as the world and everything kind of advances and evolves. You start forgetting about the initial things and the way that things were set up before. You stop forgetting about the past, or you stop believing in these things because you weren't alive when they actually began to happen, or you didn't have to go through and experience through these things. And then other things come along, and we talk about having like a king and like all these other things that can be people that, you know, can provide for you and can kind of be there for you if these harvests and all these things don't actually go properly in your way, and you don't need to rely on somebody like her as much anymore. So she almost loses her purpose and things that kind of come here. The OP song is not the song that I remember, so I don't believe that they reused it, unless I'm just misremembering the song, but I don't believe so. And it's pretty cool. I don't know, I'll give it another listen, and we'll end up seeing, in the visuals and stuff were just kind of like fun adventuring, going through things, but nothing like overly spectacular or anything that I think I care for too much. And then we set all this up as we end up having Lawrence come into town. He has his stuff of fur and everything. He meets some people. He knows a bunch of these people here, and then you get to see them all kind of talk about, you know, the harvest and the way that they're doing it. Who's going to catch the wolf? It's whatever the last thing is of wheat. Somebody has to take this. He ends up getting in there, and they trap him and take him out. It's like a fun little like thing, and they hold like a ritual party, all this stuff. They end up trapping Buddy over time. We end up finding out though that Lawrence was actually able to buy wheat at some other point through here, so he ends up having it. So HOLO apparently can transfer through the wheat, so she ends up going through to his as opposed to being locked away with the other one that the guy has. So it allows her to kind of escape and get out and follow him along the way. Things are going pretty successful here. It's becoming a town that struggled at one point greatly, and through Lawrence kind of just believing in and taking a chance, or the town taking a chance with him and allowing him to be somebody who like buys up their stuff and, you know, trades it and stuff without being overly experienced in any of that. Word of mouth probably spread through him as well, and also just like his product and stuff that he was able to sell off and trade off kind of allows others to come into this town and be a bit more fortunate for it. So he's always thankful and always wants to end up returning here at some other point, especially because he has good relations and stuff with the others involved here. In this moment, we get the awakening essentially of HOLO, which I think is done really excellent, and I really like. As she kind of wakes up, we get to see the shot as it rises here. You get to see her having nothing on, but it does a great job at dropping the hair, climax in the music, the ears that come out, the tail that you get to see, the red eyes and the way that they kind of look. It's just like the teeth, like they do a good job at giving you, describing and showing all your physical features without actually like verbally stating any of it, which I think is really good. And I think it's a great way for them to kind of open and introduce that. And then we get to see the interaction between them a little bit, almost how he's like in disbelief and he needs to see these things, but at the same time, he's kind of like not as shocked, I think, as like somebody would initially take it. Basically, we get to a point though, he ends up asking her, or finding out about her name, about like the ways that she tries to describe herself as this god, about as all of this stuff, and he's not really wanting to believe it in any sort of way. Ultimately, to a point that he's like, all right, take your wolf form, you know, do this, and then maybe I'll end up believing you, even though she's reluctant to do so, doesn't really want to. And we get like really good shots. I think the sky's really, really pretty here, and we do a really good job at kind of showcasing her and putting her like is in the spotlight and really making her look great. Some fun moments of him being a little bit like timid in these these interactions and moments, and her taking on like the alpha approach and kind of messing around with him a little bit, which I like. And it's just more of an indicator, as we get to see later on, as they set off for their journey, of how the two of them are kind of interacting with each other. She talks about the different forms. She needs blood, or she can use wheat, and either one will allow her to kind of transform into the other form that she needs to. And at this point, we get a wipe across the screen. He ends up falling in complete like shock and like being scared at this moment, and then he has no clue what the fuck he should do with himself, so he runs away, and he ends up being like, I'm gonna stay in the village, I'm not doing this anymore. Fun little conversation here. All this food, all this stuff, it's an offering to this person. Should we be allowed to like actually be involved? Should we be eating this? Should we be doing this? It's not a real person. None of that's real. It's all just these made up stories from a long time ago, right? None of that matters. Of course, it's something that she's had to hear over and over. It's something that definitely bothers her, and him being opened more into that, and then kind of being aware almost as a result of, you know, the way that she kind of feels and the why she's trying to escape and get out of here and do what she's doing, makes plenty of sense. A little bit about their backstory, the first meeting and stuff that comes as a result between the two of them, the struggle that they had with like the king and everybody trying to like overlay tax stuff that comes, which I'm assuming will play more of a part as we go different town to town and have to deal with different things and different people as we adventure further. In this moment, constantly flashing and making sure that you're well aware that he does have the wheat with him and that he bought it. So it makes plenty of sense when you see the bed here completely flat, nobody's in it, because I remember I was thinking that in the moment here, and then all of a sudden she's able to like randomly like be here in a physical presence and get under there. It's like, how did that all end up happening? Which of course she ends up explaining it, how she lives inside of it and how she can transfer through. It's really fucking cool actually, and I like that a lot. And she's pretty aware of, you know, the reasons why he would end up being scared and the way that he feels, but also we get to see a good glimpse of him too, of understanding that him being so shocked and scared and afraid of this person and this being and stuff that he's seeing in front of him, almost in his mind made her run away, right? Made her kind of like upset or unhappy with the reaction and the thing that he kind of gave her, when that's realistically not the case, but it is a normal reaction for somebody to ultimately end up having here. And I do like the delicacy almost that she talks about the land with, and how difficult it was for her and the toll that it's kind of taken on it, year after year of her having to do this stuff over and over just to at the end of the day be no longer needed or wanted, and kind of just be treated as a joke by these people and be unappreciative for the things that they've done in the past and the position that they're ultimately in because of her say, is really saddening. And I think that that's something that allows her to drop that a little bit, the little like act that she almost has, and not even saying that it's an act, but in a way that like her over excitement, I guess, within her own personality and the way that she can kind of be a little bit aggressive towards him, and a little playful at moments too. But being able to drop that, be a little serious, kind of set out. I mean, he learned a little bit about her in the first interaction before too, allows him to see like this is something that she is taking serious and it is kind of bothering her and all that. So I'm going to do whatever I can and I'll kind of help her get out of here. I wonder what will come of the village going forward within the future. Probably nothing really, right? Like probably nothing bad at all, because as she said that they don't really need her. Maybe we do get to experience something at the end where we do find out that they did, and they were just kind of being ignorant and unaware of, you know, their history in the past and the things that kind of predated them. But I don't know, we'll see. Maybe they really don't, and I mean that definitely could be the case, but I have a feeling that he'll end up needing her, and I think that they'll work together very, very well. I like him being upset about her taking the clothing and everything, but of course it fits and it works perfect on her. I love the way that the tail kind of comes out with it, making it more like a dress and everything. I think it all looks really good. First official meeting between the two, of course, but of course he's like, all right, you gotta work anyways if you want to end up doing this, and I think that they'll be a good duo here working together, and it's a really cute moment of her kind of course coming over and being like, oh, you should be happy I'm touching you, doing all this fun ED here, and I think the style of it's pretty cool and I really like it, and I think it's pretty cute, and I'm excited for more to come. I would have liked to take a little bit more time there and talk, but I'm like incredibly short on time right now, so I tried to speed through a bit at the end. But I don't think it's overly complex of a first episode that I like really need to, and I'll try and make some more time going forward or future episodes. Also, I definitely will be able to, because I am aware now of like what time that the episode comes out and everything. I was up like way before this expecting it to be up and it wasn't, so I've been sitting around for a while, which kind of made me run out of time now, but now I am aware of when this stuff will happen, so for the future we'll be able to move forward and get that going at a good time. Plans for this is on Tuesdays. This will probably be posted. Episodes come out on Mondays, so every Tuesday I would like to have this up, probably early morning they'll end up being up on those days. If I miss a day, I'm sorry, but we're going to kind of try and keep it on that. But I enjoy this for the most part, and I'm excited to see the direction that we move a little bit forward here, and I hope that you guys did as well. If you liked it, all, like and subscribe. Do mean a lot to me. Feel free to check out the videos and channel. Let me comments for this episode of the series. Let me know, are you excited for this to be returning? Did you watch the original? Is this your first version of it that you're going to be watching? How do you feel if you did watch the original about them kind of bringing back a lot of the cast and everything, about the same director and everyone working on it? How do you feel about the new designs and all that stuff? Like, how does all this stuff make you feel? If you did, if you didn't, do you even care, or you're just going to kind of go into it and you're excited to see what everybody was so excited about? Do you have any plans maybe to check out the older version at some point if you really end up liking this? I don't know. Just let me know. Anything you got to say. Also, leave recommendations, other shows you want me to watch at some other point here in the spring, especially. I have a couple ideas, but none of the shows are really that big because a lot of them that are big this season are sequels, and I don't want to do any of the sequels, so we're just gonna probably do some little bit things under the radar, maybe a little bit, and we'll see what happens. If not, we'll just do some older shows and have some fun with what we're doing right now. But once again, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll be back for the second episode next week. I hope you have a good one. Peace.